live, laugh.
How's it going, everybody? This is Daniel. I am joined by, is it the king of thick style?
Yes, sir.
I love that. As one thick man to another, that really warms my cackles, which I don't know if that's the thing that people actually say anymore, but I'm joined by Sam Stackhouse. Big Damn Sam, also known. So super excited to have you here. Before we get started, where can everybody find you? And is there anything that you want people to know about you as far as anything you've got coming up?
On the socials, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. What's the other one? Instagram. Sam Stackhouse. I'm on all of them. Post videos, clips, all the time. Keep up there. I guess the 15th, I'll be in Oklahoma and Guthrie for BCW. Then the next week or the next day, Saturday 16th, I'll be in Lubbock, Texas. So that'll be cool. I've never wrestled there before.
Awesome.
So that'll be pretty dope. And then let's see, later on in the month, I got local. There's a tribute show for a fan that unexpectedly passed away last month down in Houston on the 29th. I'll be there. I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I wish it was under better circumstances.
Yeah.
Seeing everybody and it should be a good time. We're gonna honor them in a very good way. And then the next day, I'll be back in Oklahoma at Majestic Pro and Wetumpka for Sucker Mania. So that should be pretty cool. And then I know in November I'll be at WrestleCade for GCW. So that's
cool. Yeah,
so we got some good stuff coming up. Good stuff.
I'm based out of North Carolina, so that's nice. A lot of people that listen to this are based out there. So
yeah, I've never been there, so I'm looking forward to that.
It's wild. Like anybody that you've ever watched on TV is just walking around randomly. It's kind of like it's crazy. But yeah, they do a really good job there, and the shows are always pretty awesome. Cool. So this is a wrestling podcast. It's a live podcast. I think I don't know if you ever listened to Cole Cabana, but I think that's something he says. But everybody that gets in the ring, you don't just get in the ring because you want to, or because it's out of the blue. Like you probably grew up loving this. So what was the spark? What was the first moment that you ever saw wrestling and that kind of got you hooked?
It was my brother who's the one who got me into wrestling because he's been a fan, and I remember the first pay-per-view I watched was the ECW pay-per-view. It was Guilty as Charged. It was a while back, but so the first stuff I saw was ECW, and then I heard my brother talk about wrestling and stuff, and I was hooked. And then the first WWE pay-per-view I watched was the one with the TLC on it.
Yeah,
so Jeff Hardy was my favorite. I was all in on Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
And then my brother, I could do flips and stuff in the pool and stuff. So my brother was always telling me that I should wrestle and everything. So he's pretty much, it's his fault. But
yeah,
he's the one that got me into wrestling. And then once I discovered that, then I started looking into more. I'd go to the FYE or the Sam Goody and buy all the back then they were still on VHSs. But
yeah.
And then we have a grocery store here called Reese's that used to have a video department. And I would always get to watch the pay-per-views, but I'd always have to wait it'd be 2 or 3 months after whenever they get the tape from me.
Yeah.
So then I would just get tapes, VHSs, and then it became DVDs. And then it became downloading off the internet.
Yeah.
I was hooked.
What attracted you to it? Because you mentioned ECW and the TLC, those are different than most people. That's Ric Flair. These are high flying. Is that what brought you in? Is just the craziness of it?
Yeah, it was just at first it was the craziness, and then it became the storytelling and everything, and now I look back, and ever since then I have wrestling. It's meant the world to me, because now goods and highs and lows in my life, I tie them to what was going on in WWE at the time generally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I can't pinpoint exactly what it was. So, I was young, but it just stuck with me, and it hasn't gone away yet. I watch more wrestling than I watch anything.
Yeah, the same here for a lot of the time. You mentioned Jeff Hardy. Was that your first favorite?
He was my first favorite, yeah. But then my real favorites, once I started watching more wrestling, became Umaga. I like Umaga, Bam Bam, Vader, obviously all the big dudes who can move. Those became my heroes.
Umaga was terrifying. I was peak wrestling fan when he came out. When they first pushed him, and he was this terrifying dude. Umaga is so underrated. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. But dudes like that, he made the Spike. I thought people died just Yeah.
Yeah, the intensity is ridiculous. And then just last week, I was in his nephew Jacob Fatu is one of my very good friends, and I
Yeah.
wrestled him last week, and like he has that same intensity. Like I wrestled him and a dude named Brick Savage, and like the difference, like I went back and watched it, and like the difference between us is so it's crazy because I'm coming out and I'm like waving and like talking to people and stuff,
Yeah.
and then him and Brick come out and they look like they're like foaming at the mouth, like they're ready to kill somebody, and like that's just that Samoan intensity is crazy, and
Yeah.
that's like that's a whole nother level. Like that's
Oh yeah,
like
for sure.
that stuff's awesome.
Jacob Fatu is so talented
Oh
too.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
talk about another big guy that can move. That's
man, yeah.
yeah.
He can
Um,
do stuff that doesn't even make any sense.
yeah, for real. Like the move that he does most of the time where it's like the off the rope, like I don't I don't know moves well, like the names, like but where you like
The double hop moonsault. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I felt that last week. Felt
Yeah.
that last week. Doesn't feel too great when you're on the other one, but
Yeah.
it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks very cool. So you kind of were attracted to like Jeff Hardy, the craziness he does, and then some of the bigger guys that could do things. And then you said your brother kind of like you do these crazy flips in the pool. Have you always been like a big guy?
Yeah, yeah. I've always like I've been big pretty much my whole life. I think one of the earliest pictures I have, well, besides like baby pictures, but I'm like 5 or 6 years old, and I'm like double fisting chicken legs. So it's yeah, I've been been a
Yeah,
big boy pretty much my whole life.
yeah, same here. So I identify with that. Um, but you were one of the big guy that could do all the cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's also because I don't know. I've never been able to describe it. Like I guess people have always said I just carry the weight different. Or, I don't know.
Yeah,
But like I've always been able to like run a little faster and like move a little better and stuff. Even being a big dude, my whole like it's just always been that way. I played. I mean, like I grew up. I grew up not. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money or anything like that. So like I was outside from whenever we had to go in the morning till the porch or till the lights came on. I was
yeah,
outside like my entire childhood and stuff. So it was never like I was never just laying around. I just was like the
yeah, 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 yeah. I get to that as well. Like yeah, like my nephews and stuff, they don't go outside at all.
Yeah, yeah. See,
Like
I was the complete. Yeah, my daughter doesn't get a lot of outside time, not nearly as much as she should.
yeah,
And I can't imagine like because I think back now, like when we're on trips and stuff, like I
yeah,
think back, like she's got the tablet and all this stuff, and I try to remember, like I don't remember what I did, like in the
yeah.
back seat of the car,
Oh
that I
yeah,
don't even remember. And then I
yeah.
know
We
that for sure when I wasn't inside during the day. I was always outside. We
yeah,
were playing football, basketball, whatever. We were swimming. We were
yeah.
always doing something.
Yeah, like I think about it like my wife is pregnant now and kind of it's kind of scary. Like my parent like we would just go out in the woods and build things. Like we would build forts like with tools and nails and stuff. My parents had no idea what was going on.
Yeah,
Like to think about that as like a soon to be parent is kind of scary, but like I credit that a lot to like who I am today because like I like to think that I'm very creative and like you said being in the car without like an iPad or anything like you had to like we ever play like the license plate game where you
oh
try to
yeah,
like
yeah.
see how
I
many states you can
spy
get.
and
Yeah,
start
all
with like a letter and have to find the billboards with at the
yep,
beginning of that
yep,
letter. Oh yeah.
yeah. So I grew up in Alabama, like for 5 years, like very, very like rural Alabama. And we had one which I've never heard anybody else play. It was called the cow game. And my brother would have this side of the road, and I would have this side of the road. We would just count cows. But if you passed a cemetery, you lost all of your cows. It's like the
Oh
bankrupt on Wheel of Fortune.
yeah.
Yeah, like definitely iPad probably could have been useful in that scenario. But yeah,
Probably
like
yeah.
not to be like a old fuddy duddy, but kids today, like you don't know, like having basically like a gang of kids on a bicycles, like in the neighborhood. It's
Yeah,
just
because you could, yeah, I remember I would always go to my friend's house and I could always tell who was over because there'd be bikes outside there. There'd be
yeah.
those Razor scooters were popular when I was a kid. When
Oh
I could
yeah.
like, man, I remember
Those,
when I got one of those and I had it one day and it got stolen.
yeah, yeah. I we lived in a not great neighborhood, and
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
would get a bike, and then you would see it spray painted. Somebody riding it spray painted like a week
And then
later.
I got a BMX bike that I was like I wanted forever and I was in love with it and then I got it for my birthday and then it lasted like 2 days before it got stolen. Yeah, it was rough, but
Yeah, it's a rough life, but it teaches you kind of
oh yeah, yeah, I wouldn't
teaches you.
change anything.
Yeah.
Wouldn't change anything.
For those Razor scooters, did you ever take one of those to like the ankles?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah, definitely.
That
I actually rode one to the ring a few years ago because I found one like I was at this venue and it was just in this pile of trash out back, and I was like, "Well, I'm using this." So I rode it to the ring. It was pretty fun.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So you grew up. You're a different kind of thick. That's a t-shirt idea.
That
There
is.
you go. I
I
might
should
take it
remember
if you
that.
don't.
Yeah,
But
check 'em out.
you're a different kind of big guy. You're super athletic. You're able to run. You're able to do all these cool things. Your brother said that you should try wrestling. At what point do you actually decide that like this is something that you want to do?
Well, like I mean, it was obviously just like a thought, and then I was at a party when I was like 17, and I started talking to this random dude because he had like our Monday Night Raw shirt on or something like
Yeah,
that. So we started talking about wrestling, and then he was like, "Hey, there's like a local thing here," and I was like, "I'm sorry, you said what now?" And he said, "Yeah, they run every Saturday here in Tulsa." I was in Tulsa at the time, and he's like,
yeah,
They run down here at Third and Sheridan every Saturday." So then I was like, "Oh, snaps! I'm gonna come check that out." So then for like it was probably 4 or 5 months, I went to the shows, and I got my nephews to go with me, and we'd be there front row every week to see the shows, and then finally, they would say every show they would plug that at school, but I
yeah,
never had the balls to like go like I never thought like, oh, that's something I could do. But then like one day I stayed around after the show and I talked to the promoter, and he told me to show up on Tuesday with my first payment. So I showed up on Tuesday. I came outside that church. I was there like 3 hours early because I was nervous. I was sitting out there
yeah,
freaking out. I had no idea what to expect. And I remember there's a local guy here that we're still very good friends today. His name's Richie Adams, and he still tells the story. Like he was sitting in his car, and then he says this big old dude came up, and I just like tap on his window, and I was like, "Is this where the wrestling's at?" And he still, but yeah, and it was, and then I started training on that Tuesday, and that was in February or March, and then I had my first match in October of the same year. So it was
awesome.
2009 because I'm an old
Yeah.
man.
What was that first day like for you? Like, especially like the older, like I think past like 2010 are the days where like you kind of maybe got the shit beat out of you on the first day.
That's an understatement. I mean, the first day, Tuesdays weren't bad.
Yeah,
Saturdays were that Saturdays were a little rough. My first Saturday, I went home and I was bruised. I was bruised and bleeding. Like my chest was bleeding from nipple to
yeah,
nipple. I 100% had a concussion. I did, and I had like lines of hair missing out of my leg because obviously the first day of class you need to learn how to get hit with a kendo stick. I don't know what that was
what?
about, but yeah, it was not it wasn't great. It wasn't great, but yeah. So it was definitely there was a lot of back then. It's definitely different than it is now because now
Yeah,
you keep
yeah,
training and they're not anywhere like that. Because when I like my class around then, I probably saw probably 40 or 50 people come to that class and they'd be there for 1 or 2 weeks and never come back. And there's only like three of us, I think, that trained around the time that I trained in Oklahoma that are still wrestling.
I-
So I'm the one, and I'm the one I wrestle the most out of everybody that trained around here. So it was a brutal time. It was definitely a
yeah,
brutal time, but at the same time, like I wouldn't change it because like this is hard. Like it's not an easy thing to do. So
yeah,
it that definitely prepared me for the grueling stuff on the body because I mean I was my bump card was full probably or was pretty used up my first year in just especially because once they found out I was athletic and stuff and I was taking superplexes and choke slams every day
yeah,
it was crazy. But yeah, like I said, I wouldn't. I mean, I complain about it now, kind of,
yeah.
again, I wouldn't trade it because it made me tough.
What was did you like know that the kendo stick day was coming, or is
No,
that just
but I mean, I and really, I kind of did it to myself because I had this problem when I first started wrestling. I still have it to this day. Sometimes I can't stop smiling when I'm in the ring. So
yeah,
like they were beating the shit out of me, and I would be smiling, which kind of I guess which would make them more mad, I guess. And then but I would still be smiling no matter I remember there's one time where I remember specifically I had tears coming out of my eyes, but I was still smiling while I
yeah,
was getting my ass beat. So like I guess it kind of might have been my fault. I don't know, but yeah,
yeah.
it was a different time. Like not very many places are like that now.
No, thankfully so. Like you said, it definitely made you who you are today in the ring. But it definitely like nobody wants to get hit with the kendo stick. Like
No, it
you're
wasn't great.
saying,
Oh, it wasn't great.
yeah. So at what point do you start like thinking of a character or like developing like who you want to be in the ring? Does that come like within that first couple months, or is that later?
It's that was definitely it took me a while. It took me a while
Okay.
because when I first like I was gonna debut. I knew I was debuting that week. I didn't even have a name until like 3 hours before the show. And the reason that we came with Stackhouse is because the promoter he asked me like we couldn't think of a name. He wanted me to he was about to be have me say a move like he was gonna make me be White Samoan and it was not that was like I don't like he said if I didn't come up with something we were doing
Yeah.
that. And I was like I don't want to do that. That's dumb. And so he asked me what the last name of the people on my favorite TV show was. And at the time, this is 2009, mind you, so don't judge me. I was balls deep into True Blood, and their last name is Stackhouse on that show. So
Yeah.
that's how Sam Stackhouse came. And my real name's Sam.
Yeah.
So that's
That,
how that. Yeah, so yeah, I did. And at that time, I had no idea what there was. I had a name, but I had no
Yeah.
Like, you know, there was nothing then. Like you watched my first couple years they were a little rough. I mean,
Yeah.
like I could do the moves, but like it was not the whole dealing with the people and stuff like that. That's stuff I've had to learn. I did not have that naturally. I had
Yeah.
the moves and the physical stuff naturally, but the other stuff was not something that came
Yeah.
natural to me. So it took me a little bit to figure it out. But once I
Yeah.
figured it out, it started rolling.
I wouldn't be ashamed of the True Blood. Matt Hardy said that was the inspiration for the broken Matt Hardy character.
Oh, I didn't even know that. That's well,
Yeah.
never mind. What I take
Yeah.
back the whole "don't
Yeah.
break
You
me"
did it
part.
before Matt Hardy. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely got some wrestling cred there. What was your first match like leading up to match? Like, what was your thought, your kind of preparation, and what was it like when you finally stepped in the ring?
I was freaking out. I was supposed to be a bad guy, but 90% of the crowd was my family because it was my first match. So like I had cousins I hadn't seen in a long time. My nieces, nephews, my brothers, sisters, everybody was there.
Yeah.
Well, my brother didn't make it. That's a separate story because he got stabbed 22 times the week
Oh,
before my debut, so he wasn't there. But all my other siblings and my nieces
yeah.
and nephews were there. He survived. He's
Okay.
fine.
Thankfully.
But well, he's not. I'm not gonna say fine. He survived.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was supposed to be me versus the guy who trained me under a mask. But then the other guy, the real guy who I tried to credit to training me like how to actually wrestle, his name's Dutch Hagen. He's
Uh-huh.
really the only one that actually taught me how to do things and didn't just beat the hell out of me. And like he was doing the Ric Flair thing on the like flip over the rope to the apron or whatever
Yeah.
before the show and rolled his ankle. So then they ended up throwing him in so it'd be a triple threat so we could cover up that he wasn't feeling too good because he rolled his
Yeah.
ankle. So it was a triple threat with us, and then I ended up blowing my back out because I tried to do did the move Abyss used to do the shock treatment where he had him up here in like a torture rack.
Yeah.
And he sat down and it was like a backbreaker to them.
Yeah.
Well, they ended up breaking my back. So and my finish at the time, he wanted me to do a bear hug. And I tried to do the bear hug. I ended up falling down and having to get back up and do the bear because my back was trash.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in the hospital the next day. They told me I'd be in pain for like 6 months, and it's like wow. And then I took 2 weeks off of wrestling, so that's probably my bad. So any young wrestlers watching this, if a doctor tells you to take some time off, you probably take some time off. Just saying.
How are you?
So it wasn't like a terrible match, but like going back watching it now, it's pretty rough for me. At the time, I thought that I was basically main eventing WrestleMania already. So.
How did you keep going? Like you start off, they just beat the shit out of you. Your first match, you blow out your back, you have to go to the hospital. Like you must really love wrestling to get back up and go right back to it.
Well, I mean, honestly, thinking back, like it's going to sound like cliche, but I don't even think the thought of like quitting ever even crossed my, like I don't think that was ever even an option in my own brain. Like I don't think I ever thought that.
Yeah.
It was always I was going to figure out what job I had to do to pay to get to these shows, or what I had to do to get to wherever I had to be, or what job I had to quit because they weren't going to let me off to be at the show. Like it was always just about figuring out how I was going to get to these shows and how I was going to get to wrestling, be in the ring, and do what I wanted to do. You know. So like I can't even explain why like how I kept going. There was just never an option not to. I guess.
Yeah. Were you like in love with it instantly?
Yeah. Like from the second, like whenever I went from like I say when I crossed when they like some people say that people should be on the other side of the rail or whatever.
Yeah.
When I crossed onto this rail when I first learned how to lock up, and I'm still friends with the first person that taught me ever how to lock up today. His name's Tony Mashburn. Still one of my best friends to this day. And like once the first lockup and then the first one they taught me to wipe my feet and I got in the ring and the first bump I took to fit like it was I was instantly hooked. There was no way I was ever doing it like I ever want to do anything else.
Awesome. Yeah, those are the best wrestlers, the ones that like are just in love with wrestling. Are you familiar at all with Rob Killjoy?
Right.
He's out of the North Carolina, but like this is a guy that like eats, sleeps, breathes, like working 7 matches a week. Like these are the guys that, like he's one of the best guys in like our region. But like if you really love wrestling, it really shows in your work, and those are the people that are, I think, ultimately successful because you're just like you said, you're willing to find what job you need to do to work there. What was the worst job that you've ever had while wrestling?
It was a tire recycling factory, hands down, worst job I've ever had in my entire life. it was so miserable because all I was doing was like they would bring in the trailers full of old tires and stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to unload it by hand and throw it on this conveyor belt that took it off into whatever it did on the other thing. but it was like 142 degrees in the back of these trailers, and like there'd be water and mud and stuff all like in on the inside of the tires. So when I'd pick them up, I wouldn't know, and it was just, like I would be wet and filthy and gross.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was terrible. Then I had to go shower up and then go to wrestling training after that and get the
Yeah.
shit beat out of me, and then be up at 4 o'clock the next morning and be back at the job. So, but they gave me weekends off, so it worked.
Yeah, those weekends off are very important.
They were.
What is the first for that? I just sounded like a little kid. What is the first moment that you ever? What is the first moment that you like ever like where you felt like you belonged in the ring?
It's been fairly just the past couple of years because I'm gonna be full transparent. I wasted a lot of time just spinning my wheels, just doing my thing here, and I got comfortable and stuff. But in the past few years, whenever I started like GCW and stuff like that, but like whenever I was walking out into the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York City to make a run in on Hornswoggle and Matt Cardona,
Yeah.
that kind of made it feel like it was all worth it, because that was a big moment. That was Matt Cardona's first time ever wrestling at Hammerstein. That was a bunch of people on that show's biggest night of their career so far, and I was getting to be there, and it was obviously the biggest night of my career so far. And like just walking out there and knowing I was a part of that was pretty gratifying, I guess. It was pretty. Yeah. It made all those miles, all the thing, and then I put in a bunch more miles and stuff since then. And it's all been worth it because that's like people like I got to live a dream that like a lot like probably millions of people. I don't know about millions, but a lot of people have. Not, and 99% of them don't get to do it. Like how many people love wrestling and wish they could do it, and wish they could. And even wrestlers, how many wrestlers are that will never get to wrestle at the Hammerstein Ballroom? That's one of their bucket list items, and I got to do all that. On and it went from zero to there really quick. So I'm extremely lucky. But that's probably the day that everything felt like it was falling into place.
Yeah, walk us through that. Is that a different? So I know that Matt Cardona had like the Vince McMahon ECW. Is that moment?
No, that was in Las Vegas.
Okay,
that was about a month and a half or two before.
Okay,
because that was wild too, because I just like the whole GCW thing happened. I was sitting on my thing playing Madden, and I got a message, and he was saying he's a promoter of GCW, and I had lost my brain. And then they announced the Texas shows, and I went down there, and that had only been the second time I'd ever wrestled in Texas. And I did a triple threat, and then it went well. The crowd went crazy for me. It was awesome. And then I was sitting at my desk playing Madden. I got another message about coming to Vegas. I had no idea that's what I was doing until I was already in Vegas. Had no idea. It was so crazy. And like I still can't understand what made him think. Like it still blows my mind what made him think of me.
Yeah,
because I'd only wrestled at GCW one time. So he could have had anybody do that. Anybody would have come and did that. Yeah. But anyways, and that went well. I had a good show in there. And like there was like 800 people chant my name. I was walking down the strip or at Fremont Street, and there was people stopping me, asking me for pictures and stuff. It was absolutely insane. So that's probably another moment. But then again, like whenever I got that call to come to the Hammerstein Ballroom, that was insane, because I was about an hour, like not even an hour, like the show had already started. So like 45 minutes before my time, we stayed in the hotel attached to it. And I don't know. I don't think I've ever told the story in the public thing before, but I'm going to anyways. So I was up in that room about ready to leave because I was full blown anxiety panic attack mode, freaking out. So like I was like I almost left. Like I was just gonna go to the airport, get on and they're just gonna figure it out. But then I went back down there. So like that, overcoming that, and then it was just because I think that moment, that's why that time means so much to me, because everything hit me all at once, like an hour before it was about to happen. After I knew what I was supposed to do, like everything was all set and everything, like everything hit me, like all the late nights, all the lost relationships, all the lost jobs, all the borrowing money, everything, like everything all hit me at once. And then it was pretty overwhelming, but then I got my ass down there and went out there, and it worked out.
That's awesome. Yeah. I definitely would talk about that, but to jump back to your first time working for GCW, what was your first interaction like with that crowd? Because it's a different breed of fan that, from at least in my experience, than other wrestling shows.
It is, and it was at first it was mixed, but by the end of the match, they were all. I mean, they were going crazy for me. When I first came out there, like a few fans told me that they were like, "Oh God, I feel bad for this big old dude," because they thought I was going to go out there and just embarrass myself. But then once we got the match stuff, I started doing my stuff, and by the end of the crowd, like they were all on their feet, and like Houston pretty much became a home away from home for me for the past 2 years after that night. So. And it's not and every time I go to GCW, because I've wrestled for GCW now in Texas, Nevada, and New York, New Jersey. I did the Hammerstein shows, and people, or not the Hammerstein, but the Showboat shows,
Yeah.
and people know me from there, like
Yeah.
from watching on the show and stuff. When I go up to New Jersey, I'd never been up to New Jersey, and there are people already there who knew who I was and stuff. So it's GCW has definitely it changed my life.
Yeah.
It definitely changed my life because when I first started wrestling at GCW, I was still a truck driver. So I was still on the road during the week, and then I'd have the weekends off and everything, and then getting on the GCW, and then all the little viral videos and stuff that completely changed that. So
Yeah.
it's been wild.
You mentioned that like when you came out, the people's opinion changed. Is that something you kind of run into a lot? And is that kind of like a challenge for you where you're just like,
I mean, it's at first now it's kind of just like a normal, like now I'm used to it.
yeah,
You know, now I'm used to getting the comments like, "Oh snaps, I thought you was gonna suck," and then like so like I get like now it used to be a challenge because I used to like thrive on it, you know, like a kind of a negative way, and I've kind of gotten away from that because it was kind of like I'm gonna show you type of way, and that's not very healthy. So I've gotten away now. Now I get it because you know now that I've been around, I've been up and down the roads. I've wrestled all over the place. I've wrestled lots of different people. Now I get it. I get it.
Yeah, it's not everybody that walks through those curtains is great in the ring.
Yeah. But again, like I've said this for ever since. Like I believe there's a place in wrestling for everybody. I don't care if you're good. Like you ain't got to be quote unquote good in the ring, or you can do whatever. There's places in wrestling as long as you're safe.
Yeah,
obviously, as long as it's safe. I think there's a place in wrestling for everybody. I've wrestled people that are 1,000 times better wrestlers than me, and I've wrestled people who are 1,000 times not as good. I've had fun in both instances.
Yeah.
I've been entertained by people who can't do crazy moves, but they can tell a story. And I've been very much entertained by people like that.
Yeah, wrestling is so unique when there's so many different styles. And to go back to GCW, I think that's a great indicator of like all the different styles when it comes to that. GCW is kind of known for like the death match, and I know that you've kind of had a little bit of experience with that kind of match. What is the preparation like for that? Like, what was your first experience with that? And like, I don't know. I know why people do it because like it's a story, but like, how do you like prep yourself to go out for those type of matches every time?
Well, I mean, if you look back at my training I was talking about earlier, I was prepping for day one. So, but no, my first experience of wrestling was an ECW show.
Yeah.
So like I've always loved the hardcore style, like the balls to the wall, and like I said, like I'm not very smart and I have a pretty high pain tolerance. So that's pretty much I've been preparing for it my whole life.
Yeah.
But I mean you just gotta mentally know that like it's gonna suck, it's gonna hurt, and like it's not one of those things like a lot of fans don't understand like the show ends for them when they leave. But like a lot of these wrestlers, we're still feeling this stuff weeks later. And like when you do deathmatch stuff, you've got to understand, and you got to go in knowing that you're going to be feeling this for a while. And like, and you know that it's a risk. No matter, I mean, depending on what you're doing, deathmatch wise, it's a risk. You mean, you can get cut real bad, you get hurt real bad. Because like I've always told people, I could be a deathmatch guy like all the time because I don't mind getting like cut and hit with stuff. But it's some of these crazy bumps these guys are doing. Yeah, like people like I got mad respect for all the deathmatch guys because there's some of these guys like I don't think people understand like they see these clips and think they're doing this like once a month or something like that. But these dudes are doing this week in week out. Like they're out here, they're doing these death matches, then being in the car for 10, 12 hours traveling or getting on an airplane and stuff like that. And I got mad respect for those guys. And like GCW, it's like you mentioned, it is a mixture there because they have like GCW has the best lucha guys, they've got the best deathmatch guys, they've got the best big guys, they've got the best everything there, and they're not just deathmatch get people like it's because they run in states that don't allow it nowadays. So now sometimes they do shows that are full on just wrestling shows. Yeah. So, but they got the best of everything there.
Howdy, sir.
Red James.
To go back to deathmatch, like deathmatch is a great like I don't think people give them enough credit because it's the way that they tell the story of the match is different from a lot of like wrestling, and it's very unique and it's very like strong. How do you go into a match like that, like telling a story, like how does that work, like with the preparation and the planning and like It's definitely a different style, but it definitely gets the point across as far as the story goes.
Well, it's just like I haven't done a lot of death matches just to do them. So I mean,
Yeah,
there are definitely those shows, but I like to end things with that. I mean, I feel
yeah,
like because I had me and a guy who I trained with, so we've been fighting each other for years. We had Oklahoma's first death match a few months ago, or well, back in April now.
yeah,
But because we have a commission in Oklahoma, so no one's ever called anything a death match. So we were the first one to actually call a death match, and we definitely did more crazy stuff than anybody's ever seen around here. But you just, like I said, you just have to go into it knowing that you have to know what you want to do basically, and you have to make sure because there's a fine line between doing deathmatch for no reason and still being able to tell a story. In my opinion,
yeah,
you've got to toe the line, and hopefully at the end of the day, the risks are worth it, and like
yeah,
the spots the spots look good at least. Hopefully,
yeah,
but yeah, like as far as mindset, it's just it's that's another thing where I think is underrated. Like like some of these guys are tough because I see a lot of people talking crap at the deathmatch guys. I guarantee you wouldn't say it's like I hate to be that guy, and normally I'm not because normally a lot of these wrestlers aren't what they portray. But
yeah,
these deathmatch guys are legit. Like I mean, they're legit badass dudes.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
if there's any wrestlers you don't want to mess with, it's the deathmatch guys. And not a bad. I mean, a lot of them, and some of them are the sweetest dudes I've ever met.
yeah.
But at the same time, I would not mess with them either because
No,
they're. I think I fancy myself a pretty tough dude, but these dudes are tougher than me.
yeah. Just like for instance, New Jack. Like New Jack
Man,
is the
well,
definition
I
of
feel like New Jack was he was gonna be crazy no matter what he was in.
yeah.
He just happened to be a wrestler. That man was crazy.
The definition of somebody I would not want to fuck with.
No, on
Yes,
any yeah, no man,
yeah.
that man.
Um, so speaking of like the death match, this doesn't have to be a death match, but what is like the worst bump that you've ever taken?
I mean, there's been some tough ones, but the first the worst the absolute worst pain I've ever been in the match and thought I was dying was it was way I mean, it was a long time ago. We were doing an outside show at this camp that was for kids with like had terminal
Uh,
illnesses, but it's like a summer camp for them. And I was wrestling one of the dudes who trained me that used to beat the hell out of me. He was like a probably 320 something like that, and he had a frog splash on me from the top rope and I thought I was dead. It took me it was like 5 or 6 minutes before I could breathe again. Like I thought I was gonna die. That's been the closest to thinking I was gonna die in the match. And there's been there's other times where I'm like, holy crap, I'm bleeding a lot. This probably isn't good.
yeah,
But like this, but that like as far as the worst pain in the match I've been in, it was that one. And there's been a few concrete bumps that I thought were a good idea at the time that ended up not being a very
yeah,
good idea. Those weren't great. I've taken from some curb stomps into the thumbtacks. I took a curb stomp onto a running treadmill one time.
yeah.
That was not that wasn't a very good idea either.
Can you
And
walk?
then I got jobbed out by a table one time because it didn't break, and that almost I thought that was going to kill me too. But there's been a few, but I think definitely that frog splash I took way
Yeah.
back in the day it was brutal.
Can you talk me through involving a treadmill in a match? Like
It was in a gym, so it just kind
it was just there.
of so like they set up the ring over in the corner, but then like off to the side was still all the equipment. They just moved it around kind of,
Yeah,
and we were having the fans bring the weapons match, so we just kind of fought over there. And like a homie hit me with like a trash can, then he got the treadmill going. I think if I remember right, I think I like body slammed him on the trash can, or not on the trash can, on the treadmill, and almost like broke my own legs because I didn't anticipate him coming off that thing so fast. I almost took
yeah.
my own legs out. And then somehow I ended up face down and we were fighting. And then he like, yeah, and then I got curb stomped on the thing.
Ugh.
So it was, I look back because it, it's another thing. Like, I realize how like creative and stuff. Like I've thought of some pretty cool stuff to do
Yeah,
over the years. And like, sometimes I just like, I don't think about it a lot because like I said, at the time it was just, I mean, I'm just wrestling,
yeah,
but it was different. It was like so, and that was shout out to Spiders who I did his name the man they call Spider. That's what
yeah,
we did that spot. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, I've never seen that. I've watched a lot of wrestling. I've never seen it that involved. And then you mentioned thumbtacks. How do you prepare yourself for thumbtacks? Like, how bad is it?
Like it's not great. I think at this point I've had them pretty much everywhere, and the work like as long as you can if you can avoid somehow getting them in your hands and
Uh,
your elbows and whatnot, then like it's not they're not terrible.
okay,
It's more of a visual. I mean, like I said, it's not great.
yeah,
I wouldn't Wouldn't advise. I don't see a lot of people doing the curb stomp into him. I wouldn't advise that,
Yeah,
but I like it.
awesome. Yeah, there's just questions you never think to ask. You see, they're on TV now, like once every couple of months for AEW, so it's very popular. But to kind of take a step back and get back on the road, so you have your first match at GCW in Houston, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when do you get the call to go to the Las Vegas?
It was about a month later because that was in my first match in GCW in July, and then in September was when I wrestled Cardona in Vegas. So it was about a month.
Did they when they originally called you? Did they like tell you that was what's going to happen?
Oh no, I had no idea. I was already in Vegas, and that's when I found out.
Yeah.
So I went out there when I went out there on like he asked me if I could be there, and I was like, "You dang right, I'd be there." And I got lucky. Shout out to my homie Jay Hollywood. Shout out.
Yeah.
He watches all my stuff because he's the homie. His wife, well, his ex-wife now. Sorry about that. But she had a job at the hotel and she racked up like so many miles or whatever. So she hooked me up with the plane there. So it cost me $26 the flight to get to Vegas and back.
That's awesome.
I tell people too, like I feel like I've been built by like my whole life has been built to be a wrestler because I've had an amazing support system. Like I've always gotten lucky and have people in areas that could help me out. Like my sister I wouldn't have gotten to New York without my sister. Like there's been plenty of times I wouldn't have gotten places without my sister. So, and like that, I had that hook up too. And like, it's been cool. It's been cool. Yeah. That was about a month later. And yeah, I had no idea. And Vegas was a crazy thing too. That was just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Cardona's I don't care what flack he gets. He's a professional. He changed my life. So
yeah, that was such like an iconic moment in his run too, to show up dressed like Vince McMahon with the ECW title.
Yeah, and little old Sam Stackhouse I get to be a part of that, and it still hasn't like it. It blows my brain. It blows my mind.
What is the plan to go into that? Like, how soon do you know that that's what's going to happen, and then like how does the planning process work?
Well, I found out the day of, and then I met him, and then that's about it. It wasn't like I had no idea what to expect. Like I had no idea how it was gonna. Like I had no idea how it was gonna go. I had no idea. Like it was, but everything clicked and everything worked out. So it was because that was the biggest to that date. That was the biggest crowd I was ever going to be in front of.
Yeah.
So and like to go out there and have to like introduce myself on the microphone, and I'm wrestling an ex-WB guy that's like the top of the indies right now, and a GCW heavyweight title match. Like that was it was crazy.
So you said that changed your life. Like how drastic like was the effect? Like after that, like were your bookings increased or was like how did that?
In 2022, I had 2 weekends off.
Okay.
And one of them was because me and my daughter were both sick, and the other one was Christmas.
Okay, so
I had like 140 something matches last year.
Okay.
There were some matches where I think my most I had 6 matches in one weekend.
Yeah.
And then it was crazy. So it went from 0 to 100 real quick.
How do you adjust to that?
It was tough. It was tough mental, like body wise, and I'm still adjusting, so it's still, but it was just a wild thing because it went from I went from wrestling in front of 15 people in Oklahoma to the Hammerstein Ballroom 2 months later to wrestling there was like 800 people at that Las Vegas show. There was a couple thousand in New York City. Then I was on and then like I said, I've been booked every single week since then pretty much. Then I've gotten to wrestle in different states. I've gotten to Louisiana, Mississippi, Colorado. I had a great time in Colorado. That was fantastic. I'm going to be in California soon. Montana, like there's been the Carolina ones coming up. Like it's going to be, but yeah, that definitely it changed everything. It changed it. I can't thank Brett Lauderdale and all them enough at GCW. Like it changed everything for me.
Awesome.
And like I said, it made it where like I don't have a real job anymore. Like I get to homeschool my daughter because she's 8 now, but the first 6 years of her life I was a truck driver, so I was home for 2 or 3 days a week tops. And those days I was at shows, so I felt like there wasn't a lot of time, and now I get to be I'm home with her every day like a homeschooler. Like and all that's because of wrestling. And I met my wife. I always tell this story too. Like everything I love in my life came to me from wrestling. All my best, like I only have one friend that is not from wrestling. That's been my
Yeah.
friend. I met him at my very first job at a pizza
Yeah.
place when I was 16 years old, and we've been friends since then. Every other the best man at my wedding was I met from wrestling. I was the best man at his wedding. Like all the man you just walked in every Wednesday night, we have family dinner. Like 1 week
Yeah.
their family cooks, but we always eat dinner on Wednesday
Yeah.
nights together. That's from wrestling.
Yeah.
Like I met my wife from wrestling in the town I end up living in now. I did a show, and the promoter, who ended up being the DJ at our wedding, was the promoter for the show, and he made her like mine and my tag partner's manager randomly,
Uh-huh.
and now we have an 8-year-old daughter. This will be our 7-year wedding anniversary this
Yeah.
year, and
That's
like all of that's from wrestling. So I'm incredibly thankful for wrestling. It's given me everything.
That's awesome. Yeah. Wrestling, as an adult, it's so hard to make friends. And like by doing this with wrestling, I've met some really cool people. And like, how else are you gonna make like it's tough to meet people outside of like wrestling. So
It
yeah,
is.
wrestling is a really cool place. Um, I want to talk about your gear for a second because that's for me. Like I think of that, I think of kind of Bam Bam Bigelow. Is that an inspiration from you for your
Oh,
gear?
for sure. Well, like my entire career, I've been like everybody's like you're just Bam Bam, and I was like, so I just figured I'd lead into it.
Yeah,
It's I think the gear, and then I got a custom like the custom music and all this stuff. That I think that might be people might enjoy that more than they actually like me.
yeah. What is the number 25? Is that just like a
It's supposed to be SS. It's a little boxy, so it looks like it's like the
oh,
D's,
I feel so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's you're not anywhere close to the first person. So then
Okay.
I'm getting a little touch up on the new one. So we're gonna have
Okay.
some new gear pretty soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's just the kind of a question. The cool thing about this is I get to kind of ask questions that, like, as a wrestling fan, are cool to know. Not necessarily like the hard hitting journalistic questions, but you're a big guy in the ring. You do some really cool stuff. Who are some of like your favorite like big guy wrestlers of all time? Like, if you had to do a Mount Rushmore of big guy wrestlers, who would be on that?
Probably obviously Bam Bam, Samoa Joe is. I mean, I've stolen many a thing from Samoa Joe. Let's see who else. There's this like nobody knows him really, but there's this crazy dude who used to wrestle in Japan.
Uh,
Like it's called his name was American Balloons.
huh?
And like he was like my man, like he was a big dude. Like you could tell that I think he used to weigh like 500 pounds, and then he dropped down to like 250 or something like that. So he had like
Yeah.
the skin and like, but he was the what is that spinal tap thing that AJ Styles does.
Yeah. Yeah.
My man out here like 300 pounds hitting that.
Whoa.
So like if y'all ever seen any videos of him, look him up. He was great. And definitely underrated because, like I said, and his career, unfortunately, now he's like a teacher in like Sweden or something like that, something crazy.
Yeah.
And then Vader obviously is another, and then Abyss is another one. Abyss actually, I mean, like he's another one that changed my life just with a device because I got to work like a 4-match feud with him. I was his last opponent before he signed with WWE because
That's
he was with us in January,
uh-huh.
and then his first show was Royal Rumble. And me and my buddy, my best friend, Drake Gallows, he's the one that we got to do a couple of triple threats, and then we each got to work him. And I mean, just the knowledge that he had was ridiculous. And he was so, like, I always tell people too, like when he did his Impact Hall of Fame speech,
Yeah.
he had a quote in there that's always stuck with me because he's talking about that his goal was always to get to the top so he could always help the next one up or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm butchering it how he said it, but it changed like just the gist of that thing that what he said absolutely changed it. And then because then I got to meet him, and that's exactly what he was about.
Yeah.
Like I mean, he dropped so much knowledge on everybody here because we did some seminars and stuff with him.
Yeah.
And so he's definitely up there too. I don't know how many are on the Mount Rushmore. Is that 5, 4?
4, I think. Yeah.
Shoot, that's a tough. But yeah, I guess that those. Umaga obviously.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to swap somebody out for Umaga. But yeah, because Umaga is one of my favorite. I mean, like I say, one of my top favorite wrestlers. He's the reason I do the heel kick was because the first match, they're one of the biggest matches, the best matches in my opinion, anyways, was him and John Cena from that Royal Rumble, that last man standing match. Because we did it in the Oklahoma's first death match. We ended it with we took the rope off the bottom, and I got choked to death with it. So that was in tribute to that Umaga match.
That's awesome. I love that wrestling is like this way too. It's like an art form where you can kind of like take things and reincorporate them. I saw a clip of you. I think it was like 1,000 pounds in the ring. You guys broke the ring.
Yeah,
What is that like?
that was pretty sketchy. That was pretty sketchy. Yeah, that was one of the sketchier things we've done. That was intense, I guess is the best way to say it. It was very intense.
For those who aren't familiar, can you like walk us through the idea of it and like kind of how that worked and like why you say it's sketchy?
It was just because we went. It's a tall ring. That was a pretty tall ring. Number one, it was
Yeah.
a long way to the floor, and then like the sound of the wood snapping and all this stuff, like it was, like it was just different because like you like I've taken thousands of bumps,
Uh,
but like when I took that one and I heard all the cracking and all the stuff, and then this dude is, I mean, he's, I mean, like we're both big dudes. That's a lot. I mean, it's that like 1,000 pounds thing is not a joke. Like it was
yeah.
legitimately 1,000 pounds in that ring, and like so like one of us coming down on the other one wasn't going to be good either, and like one of us coming down on our own hit, like it was so
Yeah.
it was definitely crazy, but like it was awesome to be part of because like I can't think of anybody besides us two now on this level
Yeah.
because on the like national cable television level, pay-per-view
Yeah.
level, there's
Yeah.
not very many people that have gotten to do that.
Yeah.
So to be on this level and for that to happen, it was pretty cool. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool to be a part of.
Is that the wrestling equivalent of Shaq breaking the backboard?
I think so, yeah, because I don't know what you're doing after that,
Yeah.
and that was the first match of the show.
Yeah.
So but they had that ring put that like, and then the second match was a Falls Count Anywhere 6-man tag match. So they had that ring put back together by the third match. I was very impressed because I didn't think that was going to happen. But I was a little sore,
Yeah.
I definitely hit the side of that, hit that sidebar, that ring a
Oof.
little harder than I
Yeah.
anticipated. But yeah, like I said, it was awesome to be part of because like I said, most people aren't going to get to experience something like that,
Yeah.
and I get to do it. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then I have like one of just like kind of my personal questions that we'll kind of head home here. I know you've got family dinner waiting for you. Um, you've had like a kind of a storyline with Brian Keith at Loco Wrestling. Uh, there's this whole side Brian Keith, and honestly, I don't think there's anybody more worthy of it. But like, what was it like working with him in that championship like storyline?
Yeah, there. I think I posted the clip I posted with the signed Brian Keith thing.
Yeah,
I'm very. I've One of the things that I think that was an advantage to me as a wrestler is the first thing I ever invested in before I invested in gear really or anything is I bought a camera, and
yeah,
I've basically watched back every single one of my matches my entire career. I don't think I've ever had a match that I didn't watch back in some form,
yeah,
and I always have a problem with it. Like I hate dang near everything. Like I don't want not everything, but I can find something wrong with almost everything I do. But that little 30-second clip of Brian Keith that I posted where we're fighting, where I like hit him when he's bleeding, when she's
yeah.
not, that was the first time like he's been wrestling for a long time too, and that's the first time he's ever bled for anybody. So
That's
or
awesome.
anybody's ever made bleed. So that was a big thing too. And like it was just a bit like Loco is a whole different, like you talk about GCW being different.
Yeah,
Loco is a whole different thing. Like it's a whole, like I've never wrestled for a place like Loco before. It's a whole different thing. But that little 30-second clip, like I can't find anything that I don't where we've traded the shots and I pop them up for that pop up Samoan. I can't think I've never had any few seconds of wrestling that I couldn't find anything that I didn't like about, and that's the first time ever that I've found something that I didn't have a problem with. Because he's a professional, he deserves to be signed. Like he's the best, like he's definitely the best unsigned guy that I've ever wrestled.
yeah,
Like he's top class. Like him, like that. There's a few guys on the Indies that deserve to be signed. Him and Luke Langley are my top two people
yeah,
and not a lot of people know who Luke Langley is, and that is very unfortunate because he's one of the best wrestlers he's him and BK are definitely the top two best wrestlers I've ever been in the ring with, but they're two of the best wrestlers that anybody can be in the ring with.
that's awesome.
So he's definitely deserving, and I hope, and he showed out last week on Dynamite, or was it Rampage?
Yeah,
So
Rampage.
hopefully something comes of it. Somebody better snatch him up.
Yeah, we're very lucky. I don't know if you've heard of DPW.
I'm not sure.
Oh, it's
There's a
kind of
lot of
like
letters.
yeah, it's a big promotion that's kind of taken off here in North Carolina, but he just won their national championship,
Yeah, boy,
so we've
he's
been able
winning
to see
all
him.
of them.
Yeah, so we've been able to see him wrestle. We saw him wrestle Kevin Blackwood at the
Yep.
last show.
Oh man, I bet that was good.
Oh, good. Yeah, such a talent.
And just on like a personal level, he is such. I mean, because he's such a good. He's a genuine, just a good person as well.
Yeah,
Just behind, just as a person, he's a
yeah.
good guy.
Which can be hard to find in wrestling. So it's
It
always.
definitely can be. It definitely can be.
Um, I've got two more questions for you. One question: what is like your end goal with wrestling? Like, where do you hope to be? Like, looking back at the end of your career, what do you want to be able to say that you've done?
I just want to be involved. Like I just want to get myself in a place with wrestling where it's my where I retire from wrestling,
Yeah,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the ring because obviously, I mean, and like one of the things that's always helped me being the bigger dude, and being like I'm always been realistic with my body. Obviously, I'm not gonna be able to do all this forever,
yeah.
you know. So like I've found different ways to be able to make money in wrestling. You see behind me, I got all the
The cricket,
printers and the crickets and all this stuff because
yeah,
I have a little sticker business going on. I make all my own merch. I make other wrestlers merch. So any other wrestlers watching this, you need stickers, shot glasses, anything like that, hit me up. I make all my own stuff. I've made stuff for a lot of for people on TV now, which is wild.
yeah,
I've made stickers. I've got stuff all over the world right now. It's crazy. But like I found ways to still be involved in wrestling even if it's not in the ring. So that's always my end goal is to be able to provide for my family doing something that I love to do.
yeah,
And like I said, the past 2 years have been almost 3 years now have been absolutely magical that way because I have been able to do that.
yeah,
So now, like my goal is just to make it bigger. Like my wife, I'm super proud of her. Shout out. She works a full time job at the nursing home, and then she just started school full time to be a massage therapist. On top of that, plus she's the best wife I could ask for, the best mother to my kid. Like she's fantastic. So my ultimate goal is for her to obviously not have to work as hard. So like if she gets her massage therapy, obviously if I were to get signed or stuff like that, then I'd be able to provide that like
yeah,
a space for her to be able to go like that. Like she supported me for the past 8 years.
yeah.
There's been times where I was down about wrestling and like because at first like I'm not necessarily like I never wanted to quit, but like there's definitely been times where I'm like I'm gonna take some time off, and she's always been there to push me. She's like, no, you're gonna be miserable if you don't go, and
Yeah.
which is true because I got hurt at the beginning of this year, and I sat at home for the longest I've sat at home for since 2009. I went 6 weeks without wrestling. That's not happened in almost 15 years. So it was not brutal not only because my face was broken, but it was brutal like mental wise too.
Yeah,
But so she's always been pushing me. So it's just it's been crazy 2 years, man.
awesome. Um, yeah, I definitely think that we should start the Sam's side. It's going to be a tough thing to say, but signs Sam's stacking house. Yes, maybe it'll be like a hashtag instead of a verbal thing because it'll be tough for people like me.
And then my only other thing, like I've always told people, is I hope that I can spend my entire adult life in this business, and by the time I'm done with it, no one will be able to say that same guy was a dick to me, or
That's
like
good.
just that's always been a goal too. But like I said, I just want to be involved in wrestling for the rest of my life. As long if I can do that, then I'll in my book and on my deathbed, I'll think that I had a successful life.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. And then last question: who do you think that more people should know about in wrestling?
Well, as I said a while ago, Luke Langley,
Yeah,
number one. Like, if y'all don't know about Luke Langley, you need to check him out. He's one of the best. I mean, he's in the Midwest. He's in St. Louis, Missouri. Like he does a lot of that. Like, but like last year between being in the ring with him and BK, like I said, those are the best two matches of my career.
yeah,
My best match of my career is BK, Luke Langley, and Mysterious Q, which is another one that people need. He's a tech down there, Texas guy. He trained with Booker T down there.
yeah,
He's fantastic. I mean, I wrestle in Texas right now a lot, and there's a lot of talent in Texas right now. I mean, there's
yeah,
a lot of guys that I can't believe aren't at a higher level. But also at the same time, you look at the higher levels, and there's a lot of guys up there that deserve to be there too. So it's just, but like I said, yeah, if the number one I can say is Luke Langley and then BK. Y'all gotta if y'all know about them, look them up.
awesome. Well, this has been great. I really enjoyed talking to you.
So
Love to have you back on at some point. But
anytime.
where can everybody find you again on your socials and anything you want to leave people with, like a message or anything? Feel free to do so.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's the Sam Stackhouse on everything. Um, I said if you're a wrestler watching this, or not, it doesn't even be a wrestler. You got a business, you need stickers. I've done some for dispensaries. I just did them for a roofing company. But just and then just I just want to tell everybody thank you, like the people who watch this or anybody share this, do anything. Like you guys, are the reason that I get to live this dream. And like I've told people in the past, I don't live a real life anymore.
Yeah,
Like I said, I get to hang out with my kid all day and teach her a few things. I get to hang out with my wife. With like, we don't have any like schedule. Like, if we want to go do something, we can go do it. I mean, and I get to do all that through wrestling and stuff, and it's fantastic. I get to travel every week. I've gotten to see places that I never thought I would get to see. I got to take a trip to Vegas a few months ago to wrestle for GCW, but I got to take that with one of my best friends, Fuego del Sol, and another
Yeah.
guy from here. So like, and to get to do that was awesome. Like, and just the as good a friend, like the friends I've built. Like I said, I've got like I hate to like I got to toe the line between sound like I'm name dropping and like
Yeah.
whatever, but like this, there's people that I can call friends now that I would have had to pay to talk to a few years ago.
Yeah.
And all that's because the fans demand. Like, I've had, like, there's been fans that demand that I get on shows. There's definitely been shows that I got on only because the promoter didn't know who I was until the fans of me that go to his shows told him to book me.
Yeah.
So like, the fans have changed my life. GCW changed my life, and it's my family thanks you. I thank you, and it's just been fantastic. And to people like you, let me come on here and do these interviews and stuff, and give us a platform and stuff like that. I really appreciate stuff like that.
Awesome, man. Well, this has been great. Definitely check out Sam if he's in the town near you, and it sounds like he will be, uh, judging by his schedule. But thank you so much, and I hope you have a good family dinner tonight. Awesome. Thank you, sir.